Look into the mirror, not just on the surface. Look at yourself as if your eyes could see through the skin and read the hidden codes beneath it. There, between your brows, in that small space most people overlook, you might find a line, a crease, or a shadow that didn't happen by chance. The elders of India understood this. That spot is called Ajna, the center of inner vision. It's also the mirror where your deepest inner battles show themselves. They say that when that wrinkle appears too early, it's the body's way of shouting something you've been determined to keep quiet. It's not just about looks or age. It's an energetic mark that reveals which emotions rule you and which memories steer your life without you realizing it. In Ayurvedic and Taoist face reading, this spot is closely tied to the liver. That's no coincidence. The liver stores anger, frustration, and unexpressed emotions. This weight not only hardens your face, but also clouds your gaze and distorts your energy field. The most surprising part? The shape of that wrinkle changes depending on the story it's telling. If it leans to the left, it may point to wounds connected to the feminine, your mother, partners, or your own yin energy. If it leans to the right, it can signal struggles with the masculine, your father, authority figures, or your yang side. And if it's straight and deep, it suggests a soul living in constant battle, even while smiling. But here's something most people never hear. That mark can be softened. And not with creams. There are rituals, practices, and subtle changes that can erase the physical sign by transforming the pattern that caused it. It's a kind of inner alchemy, healing the liver, clearing the mind, and making peace with your past. The space between your brows isn't an enemy, it's a messenger. And like any messenger, if you learn its language, it can guide you to a release that shows not only on your face, but in your entire life. In the ancient villages of India and China, healers didn't start by checking your pulse or tongue. They started with your face. They read what you hadn't yet dared to speak. The brow was a special map, a place where the roads of the mind and the soul met. They knew that if that area was tense, rigid, or marked, it meant something in you had been holding back what couldn't be contained for far too long. The liver, in its own language, filters more than physical toxins. It filters emotions. When anger goes unexpressed, it piles up. When frustration has nowhere to go, it settles in. That invisible weight eventually searches for a way out. It doesn't always show through tears or shouting. Sometimes it leaves a vertical line in the middle of your forehead, a quiet warning only trained eyes can read. Ayurveda links it to excess pitta, the internal fire that, when imbalanced, becomes acidic, inflamed, and corrosive to inner peace. In Taoist medicine, it's a sign that your qi isn't flowing freely to your head, trapped by endless thoughts and resentments that refuse to fade. The result is a face that seems hardened, always on guard, even at rest. This hardening isn't just physical. It changes your energy. Sensitive people can feel it as a dense field extending from your forehead, even affecting how others see you. Your face sends an unspoken message: I'm ready to defend myself. And like a self-fulfilling prophecy, that stance attracts more situations where you feel you must. The truth is, this mark doesn't form overnight. It's carved by years of tiny expressions, by recurring thoughts that shape your forehead muscles like wind shaping stone. Every time you furrow your brow at something you can't control, every time you swallow an emotion to keep the peace, you're deepening that groove. The good news is the face, like the earth, is changeable. The muscles can let go of tension, but massage alone won't do it. You have to release what created it, the emotional pattern. Ayurvedic healers suggest morning rituals that combine deep breathing, gentle brow massage, and words of release. Speak to the memories stored there and let them go. This can be more powerful than any surgery. Nourishing the liver is part of the process. Bitter greens, dandelion tea, turmeric with black pepper, and intermittent fasting to help it rest and renew. Just as important is avoiding what irritates it: sugar, fried foods, and alcohol. This isn't a diet, it's a truce. It's telling your liver, you won't have to fight for me anymore. In the Vedic tradition, the brow is the home of the Ajna chakra, the eye that sees beyond the physical. It's also called Trikuta, the place where the Ida and Pingala energy channels meet and awaken deeper vision. When this area is tense or marked, the upward flow of energy gets blocked, and your perception changes. You stop seeing life as it is and start seeing it through the lens of your wound. That wrinkle can become a scar where your light has dimmed. If the line tilts to the left, ancestral wisdom says it points to a conflict with the feminine. It's not just issues with your mother or a female partner. It can be a wound carried over from past lives or inherited family memories you never realized were there. The left side of the face connects to the right hemisphere of the brain, which holds emotions and intuition. That's why this type of mark often signals a heart that never felt safe enough to trust. If the tilt is to the right, the message changes. Tension with the masculine. It might come from authority figures who cast long shadows, expectations that crushed you, or discipline that felt like punishment. This side connects to the brain's left hemisphere, logic, rules, and action. A wrinkle here tells the story of a life lived as if you had to constantly prove your worth, even when no one was asking you to. When the line is straight, vertical, and deep, it radiates a constant state of alertness. It's the face of a warrior who never lowers the sword, even though the war ended long ago. In these cases, the ancient sages said the solution wasn't just healing the liver or relaxing the muscle. It was retraining the soul to return to peace. Face reading isn't superstition, it's a language. And like any language, it can be translated. The body doesn't punish you with marks. It writes messages in an alphabet you've forgotten how to read. Modern medicine focuses on collagen, genetics, and muscle tension. Ancient wisdom looks instead at energy flow, trapped emotions, and unconscious agreements still in effect. The rituals to unblock the ajna are simple but profound. Meditate with your forehead touching the ground for a few minutes at dawn as a sign of surrender. Apply sandalwood or lavender oil to your brow point, not just for the scent, but for their calming vibration. Practice alternate nostril breathing, known as Nadi Shodhana, to balance the yin and yang within you. Most importantly, learn to watch yourself without judgment, as you might look at an old wound and gently touch it instead of hiding it. Ignoring what the brow reveals is like painting over a crack in the wall. It may look better for a while, but the structure keeps weakening. When that tension stays for years, it doesn't just affect your liver or facial muscles. It changes the frequency you vibrate at, and what you vibrate attracts. Quantum physics already hints at this. We are energy fields in constant exchange with the world around us. If your forehead sends out a signal of alarm, your life will keep filling with situations that confirm it. Conflict draws conflict, defense draws attack. It's invisible but precise. That's why relaxing the muscle isn't enough. You have to rewrite the energetic code behind it. In shamanic traditions, a marked brow is also seen as an inverted portal. In its clear state, the ajna draws in intuition and clarity. When blocked, it becomes a door that lets in intrusive thoughts, other people's emotions, and even energies that don't belong to you. It's like leaving your house unlocked at night and wondering why strangers walk in. Freeing this portal means cleansing on 2 levels. Physically, treat your liver like a sacred space, not just with purifying foods, but with periods of rest so the body can repair. Sleeping before midnight, when the liver works hardest to regenerate, is one of the simplest and most overlooked ways to do this. Energetically, try this each night. Place your palm over your brow and imagine a violet light expanding, gently erasing the mark. Don't dismiss these practices. The ancients didn't call them spiritual to make them sound mystical. They knew your energy field responds more to symbols and deliberate actions than to 1,000 fleeting thoughts. What you repeat gets recorded, and what's recorded eventually shows up in your life. If you've read this far, it's not a coincidence. Maybe you've already felt that something in you is ready to let go of a weight you can't see. When you learn to understand this language, life stops being a battlefield and becomes a place you can truly live in. If this resonates with you, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications, because there are insights here you won't find anywhere else, and they can change the way you see yourself and the way the world sees you. When the brow softens, it's not just the skin that changes. It's as if the whole energetic structure of your life rearranges itself. Faces that once seemed unfriendly start greeting you with a smile. Arguments that used to find you dissolve before they even begin. It's not magic. Or maybe it is, if you think of magic as the art of transforming reality from the inside out. The healers of the Himalayas used to say that when the ajna breathes, the soul remembers its home. That home isn't a physical place, but a state of consciousness where you no longer need to be ready for battle, because you know that nothing and no one can take away the peace at your center. A clear forehead reflects a clean energetic field, and a clean field acts like a magnet for experiences that match your true nature. Healing this point doesn't mean erasing the past. It means integrating it. Wrinkles, even those that fade away, remain in your story not as scars, but as signs of a journey you've completed. That's why the rituals don't stop when the line disappears. That's when they take on deeper meaning. In Ayurveda, after cleansing and balancing pitta, it's recommended to nourish the ojas, the life essence that brings sparkle to the eyes and softness to the face. This comes from foods that strengthen without inflaming. Soaked almonds, golden milk with turmeric, dates, pure ghee. On the energetic side, practice daily gratitude. It's the spiritual equivalent of radiant skin. But there's one thing science rarely talks about: forgiveness, not just toward others, but toward yourself. Forgive yourself for holding on to tension for so long, for believing you had to carry everything alone. When forgiveness comes in, the muscles let go. When the muscles let go, the flow returns. And when the flow returns, your destiny shifts. Many who go through this process find that, without even trying, they start attracting kinder people, unexpected opportunities, and new paths where doors once seemed closed. It's not coincidence. A clear brow is a signal to the universe that you're ready to receive, not resist. If something in these words sparks something inside you, trust it. Stay connected, because this isn't just about a mark on the skin. It's about rewriting the energetic map of your life and discovering that the face you see in the mirror can reflect a free soul. Next time you look in the mirror, don't just check for wrinkles, spots, or signs of age. Don't see your face as something that's getting older. See it as the parchment where your soul has been writing, day after day, everything you've lived and everything still waiting to be resolved. The brow, that small point most people barely notice, is one of the most sacred portals you have. It holds your oldest battles, your heaviest silences, and your most stubborn memories. Ignoring it is like leaving letters unopened. No matter how much time passes, they'll still be there, waiting for you to be brave enough to read them. But once you do, once you listen to what that mark is telling you, something shifts. It's not just that your skin softens, your energy clears, your eyes regain their light, and your life opens as if you'd turned an invisible key. This is the kind of truth you won't see in an ad or hear in a clinic. The marks on your face aren't flaws, they're messages. And erasing them isn't about covering them up. It's about healing the story that created them. The line between your brows isn't an enemy, it's a messenger. And messengers, when truly heard, bring gifts. Here's the powerful part. When you soften that inner tension, you don't just change how you look, you change your vibration. And when your vibration changes, the whole universe responds. People who once ignored you suddenly seek your company. Doors you thought were locked swing open. Situations that always ended in conflict now resolve with ease. What seems like luck is really the natural result of a freed energy field. This isn't just another chapter, it's the start of a path. And if you choose to follow it, you'll discover that your entire body is a map of symbols. Every wrinkle, every shadow, every expression is a portal. If we've just decoded one, imagine what happens when we start opening the rest. Don't miss what's coming. In future episodes, we'll reveal more of the hidden codes your body keeps and your soul longs for you to understand. Subscribe and turn on notifications now, because each episode is a key, and each key brings you closer to the version of yourself that's been waiting to be free. This isn't a beauty channel, it's a channel about truth. A truth you can see, feel, and live. And once you know it, there's no going back. See you in the next episode. Imagine there's a hidden spring within you, an invisible river flowing beyond the years, beyond the age of your body. It doesn't come from your heart or lungs, but from the very root of your being. That spring is your sexual energy, and it's not just desire or impulse. It's a thread of light connecting you to the creative force of the universe. If you're hearing this and you're over 40, 50, 60, or even 80, here's something important to understand. Your creative energy doesn't run out with age. What changes is how you use it, and that's where both the mystery and the danger lie. As the years go by, most people slip into automatic habits. Masturbation can become mechanical, like flipping on a lamp without thinking about the electricity running through the wires. We chase a moment of pleasure but lose sight of the fact that with every release, at every euphoric peak, we're not just letting go of tension. We're letting one of the most powerful forces we have slip away. It's a force that sustains vitality, sharpens the mind, and deepens our connection to something greater. Ancient cultures understood this. In Taoism, in Tantra, and in the hidden teachings of both East and West, creative energy was seen as a sacred fire, a fire that could burn you out in seconds or be directed toward the heart, the mind, and the spirit, fueling health, creativity, and expanded consciousness. This isn't about prohibition or judgment. It's about waking up, realizing that the energy you use unconsciously today can be transformed into an endless source of inner strength. That every sexual experience, whether alone or with someone else, can become a ceremony, an act of conscious creation. In this video, we'll explore what really happens when you ignite your inner fire, why your sexual energy is more valuable now than ever, and how simple practices can transform impulse into vitality, clarity, and spiritual connection. This isn't a sermon or a moral warning. It's an invitation to rediscover the hidden power within you. Once you step through that door, you'll never see your body, your desire, or your life in the same way again. To understand the depth of this, we have to go back centuries into the temples where priests whispered truths the common people never heard. In those sacred places, creative energy wasn't just a biological function. It was a bridge between human and divine. In ancient China, Taoists spoke of Jing, the vital essence. They believed every drop of sacred elixir and every wave of pleasure carried pieces of that essence, and that losing it without awareness was like letting water leak from a priceless vessel. By contrast, saving and transforming that energy could rejuvenate the organs, sharpen the mind, and open spiritual vision. In India, Tantra taught that creative energy is Shakti, the primordial feminine force that, when guided with focus, rises up the spine as Kundalini, awakening dormant centers of consciousness. The aim wasn't repression, it was alchemy, turning desire into light, impulse into clarity, pleasure into spiritual ecstasy. Even in ancient Egypt's mystery schools, conscious intimacy and ritualized self-pleasure were considered acts of magic. They believed arousal opened an energetic channel, and that directing that energy toward a higher purpose could influence health, creativity, and even destiny. Over time, these teachings were hidden or distorted. Organized religions began labeling intimate power as sin or shame. Yet, tucked away in sacred texts and in the private practices of monks, nuns, and mystics, the truth was preserved. Creative energy is the most potent spark we can cultivate. Today, we live in a world where sexual intimacy is often reduced to quick images and instant gratification. But the oldest traditions whisper something different, that even in later years, especially then, creative energy can be medicine, a source of longevity, and a key to higher states of awareness. That's why talking about lighting your inner fire in adulthood is not just physical. It's a conversation with thousands of years of wisdom, inviting us to stop seeing intimacy as an ending and start seeing it as a tool for transformation. When we talk about this energy, most people think only of physical sensation, a quick release or a brief high. But from the perspective of energy and consciousness, the truth is far deeper. Think of your body as a temple. At its center is an invisible cauldron where your vital essence boils. This essence isn't just chemical, it's vibrational. Every time you're aroused, that cauldron generates pure, intense energy, like a spark that could ignite an inner sun. When you're young, the cauldron overflows, and even if energy is wasted, the body replenishes it quickly. But as time passes, the production of this life force slows and becomes more valuable. Every moment of arousal carries a portion of the battery that powers not just your intimate life, but also your mental clarity, physical strength, and emotional balance. When intimacy becomes mechanical and mindless, ancient traditions called it a leak of essence. Physically, it's a drop in energy, muscle relaxation, and hormonal shifts. Energetically, it's the release of a powerful spark that could have been used to heal, create, or expand consciousness. Sent into the void with no purpose. The act itself isn't the problem. The issue is the lack of direction for the energy it creates. The wisdom traditions taught that instead of letting that energy disperse, we can learn to raise it, circulate it through the body, and feed our organs and brain with it. In modern terms, it's like redirecting a surge of electricity to where it's most needed instead of letting it vanish in a flash. In our later years, when the body doesn't replenish its reserves as quickly, the difference between wasting and transforming becomes critical. The same act can leave you drained or leave you feeling more alive than ever. Modern science, cautiously, has started to confirm what mystics have known for centuries. Igniting your inner flame triggers a powerful neurochemical surge. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, all playing their part. What's rarely discussed is that we can learn to guide this process, avoiding the post-release crash and using the energy peak to strengthen health, improve memory, stabilize mood, and spark creativity. Climax doesn't have to be a draining release. It can be a controlled expansion. And masturbation, far from being a guilty habit or taboo, can become a conscious ritual, a tool for self-discovery, and a catalyst for spiritual growth. Next, we'll move into the more mysterious side. How, in practice, this energy can be cultivated and transformed into true medicine for both body and soul. If we accept that creative energy is one of the most powerful forces we possess, the next step is learning how to stop wasting it and start transforming it. This isn't a new idea. Taoist masters, Tantric yogis, and Western alchemists all wrote that when sexual energy is channeled well, it fuels physical, mental, and spiritual evolution. In these traditions, igniting your fire without awareness was like opening a dam and letting the water escape, water that could have powered the turbines of life. When you learn the art of transmutation, that same impulse becomes a current flowing upward through what Taoists call the microcosmic orbit, nourishing every cell, every thought, every heartbeat. The key is a radical shift in perspective, not making pleasure the ultimate goal, but letting it be a secondary effect, or sometimes not seeking it at all. This isn't about repression, it's about redirection. Instead of letting the fire burn the wood to ash, you guide it to warm the whole house through the night. It begins with mindful attention. At the moment of arousal, your breath becomes your ally. Deep, belly-expanding breaths help the energy rise up the spine instead of staying trapped in the sexual center. Imagine it as golden liquid light moving upward, flooding your brain with clarity and your heart with calm. Here's where another key element comes in: conscious muscle engagement. Gently contracting the pelvic floor and abdominal muscles, instead of fully relaxing, helps prevent total release and encourages the energy to circulate. Ancient teachers called this closing the lower gate and opening the upper gate, keeping vital force from spilling outward before it's used inwardly. With consistent practice, this method doesn't just preserve vitality, it changes your relationship with desire. It stops being a force that controls you and becomes one you can direct. Desire ceases to be a tyrant and turns into a loyal servant. Beyond the physical, there's a vibrational dimension. When creative energy reaches the heart, it transforms into tenderness, compassion, and love. When it rises to the mind, it becomes intuition, focus, and creativity. This is sexual alchemy at its core, transforming instinct into the divine. It's not instant and it's not mechanical. It takes practice, patience, and a willingness to shift your relationship with yourself. Lighting the flame stops being a quick escape and becomes an act of deep connection, a communion with yourself that leaves you feeling more full, not emptied. After such a practice, you don't feel drained. You feel expanded, present, and alive. Over time, you'll notice your daily energy rise, your mood even out, and your mind sharpen. In the next section, we'll talk about bringing these principles into everyday life so that your creative energy becomes a steady, conscious source of vitality instead of a habit that depletes you. Theory without action is like a seed kept in a drawer. It holds life, but never grows. By now, you already know your creative energy is more than a biological urge. It's a sacred current that can nourish every part of your life. The challenge now is to integrate it into your daily rhythm without falling into the unconscious habits that weaken it. First key, conscious observation. This isn't rigid self-policing, it's honest self-awareness. Ask yourself, when do I feel the strongest urge? Is it physical, emotional, a way to avoid something I'd rather not face? This kind of questioning turns a reflex into a dialogue, and dialogue leads to mastery. Second key, breathing as a bridge. When the impulse arises, don't immediately give in. Sit, close your eyes, and breathe deeply. With each inhale, imagine gathering energy from your lower body and carrying it to your heart and mind. Even a couple of minutes of this can completely change where the energy flows. Third key, keep your body moving. Stagnation in the body breeds stagnation in the mind and energy. Walk, stretch, practice yoga, or use gentle hip and spine movements to help the energy circulate so it doesn't build up only in the genitals. As the ancients said, still water rots, but a flowing stream stays pure. Fourth key, channel it creatively. Creative energy and creativity are inseparable. Write, paint, play music, dance. Anything that sparks imagination helps redirect that energy. As you do, desire loses its compulsive edge and becomes a spark for projects and passions. Fifth key, nourish the heart. Raising energy to the brain is only half the journey. Open the heart so it turns into conscious love. Invest in meaningful relationships, not just romantic ones, but any bond where you can give real attention and care. Love is the great alchemist that turns desire into compassion. Sixth key, make retention a ritual. Set periods where you consciously choose not to seek immediate release. This isn't deprivation, it's building patience and storing energy for something bigger. Mark these times with a simple ritual. Light a candle, meditate, write your intentions. Retention becomes not a loss, but an act of personal power. Living with these principles doesn't mean cutting off your life force. It means turning it into a subtle art, a resource that flows through you like an endless spring. Over time, you'll realize that true pleasure isn't just in the moment of climax, but in the strength, clarity, and presence that come from well-directed energy. At this point, you can't see your creative energy as something trivial or just a fleeting impulse anymore. You've come to understand it's the hidden jewel of your inner temple, a fire that can either burn or illuminate, depending on how you feed it. What for many is a mechanical, forgettable act can, for you, become the center of personal transformation. Your age is not a limitation, it's your greatest advantage. With maturity, you no longer seek experiences out of curiosity or youthful impulse, but with deeper purpose. The awareness you have now is the perfect vessel to direct this force toward what truly matters: your health, your creativity, and your spiritual connection. Igniting your inner fire without awareness is like pouring pure water onto dry sand. It disappears without a trace, but when lived with presence and intention, it becomes an underground current that nourishes the roots of your vitality. This is not repression, not morality imposed from the outside. It's inner alchemy. It's the ability to take an instinct and transform it into a resource for your growth. Remember, every thought, every emotion, and every sexual act is part of an energetic circuit that sustains your life. When you allow your creative energy to gather, circulate, and rise, you open inner doors you never knew existed. Your skin changes. Your gaze becomes more intense. Your mind grows sharper. Your spirit feels more connected. Now the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Because knowledge not applied is just dust on the shelf of the mind. This is your moment to choose, to consciously experiment, to keep habit from draining your strength, and to turn every intimate moment into an opportunity to strengthen your body and expand your consciousness. If you're hearing this now, it's not an accident. Maybe it's the voice of a deeper part of you that already knew this truth but needed to remember. Maybe it's the start of a path where you discover that true youth isn't measured in years, but in how you care for your vital energy. The inner guardian awakening in you today doesn't demand perfection, only consistency. It won't ask you to give up pleasure, but to turn it into an ally that leaves you nourished instead of drained. That's the difference between living on autopilot and living with mastery. And if these words have sparked something inside you, take the next step. Subscribe to this channel so we can keep exploring together the secrets that transform lives. Like this video if the message resonates, and share it with someone who needs to hear it, because knowledge grows when it's shared, and your energy expands when you inspire others to awaken. The choice is yours. What you do with your energy is what you will do with your life. And what if I told you that inside every wound you have lived, there hides a secret code of wisdom? And what if the pain that marked you most was not a punishment, but an initiation? Many believe that healing means forgetting, leaving things behind, fixing what's broken, and moving on. But in the ancient schools of the soul, the wise taught the opposite. Wounds should not be closed quickly, but read like oracles. Each deep pain is not only a fracture, it is a door, and there is a name wrapped in mythology and spiritual resonance that embodies this truth like no other: Chiron. Chiron was neither an ordinary god nor a mere mortal. He was a centaur, half beast, half man, but also a teacher of heroes, an astrologer, an alchemist, and a legendary healer. Yet despite his vast knowledge, he carried an incurable wound, a sore that no balm or spell could repair. This is the mystery that calls us today, because beyond the myth, Chiron symbolizes a forgotten teaching. The wound is not only what breaks you, it is what reveals you. And from that revelation arises the power to transmute your story into medicine, not only for yourself, but for others. In this video, we will plunge into Chiron's book, a symbolic compendium not written on paper, but engraved in the grooves of your inner biography, where it hurt the most, where you learned the most, We will explore what it truly means to be the wounded healer, how to identify your essential wound and what it is teaching you, how pain can become your purpose, and why, by looking your wound squarely in the face, you access the deepest source of your spiritual wisdom. This is not a self-help video. It is an initiatory ritual in word form, a reminder that what breaks you can also crown you, and that by walking your wound with awareness, you begin to emanate a medicine that only you can offer the world. So stay, because today we will open together an invisible book, one that is already written in your own scar. In the pantheon of Greek mythology, the centaurs were known for their savagery, their unbridled passions, and their indomitable nature. But among them there was one who did not fit in. Chiron, the son of Cronus, the god of time, and the nymph Philyra. From his birth, he was different. His mother, horrified at his half-human, half-horse form, rejected him. Thus his story began, not with glory, but with abandonment. Yet the gods, in their veiled wisdom, do not create mistakes. They create symbols. Chiron was taken in by Apollo, the god of light, music, and healing, and by Artemis, goddess of the moon and feminine mysteries. Thus he grew instructed in sacred arts, astrology, medicine, conscious combat, the alchemy of body and spirit. He was not a warrior, he was a guide. He was not a priest, he was a living bridge between human wound and divine wisdom. Unlike other centaurs, Chiron did not live from instinct, but from integration. His very existence was paradoxical, part animal, part celestial, a teacher yet wounded, immortal yet in pain. This contrast became his teaching. According to legend, he was accidentally struck by a poisoned arrow from Hercules, and although his body was immortal, the wound would not close. He could not die, he could not be healed, he could only coexist eternally with the pain. Here lies the most powerful symbol, the wound that does not disappear but that transforms. For the alchemists of the soul, Chiron represents an archetypal figure, the healer who, having crossed his own abyss, acquires the gift of illuminating the path for others. His pain is not an obstacle. It is the forge where his medicine is tempered. In modern astrology, the asteroid Chiron was discovered in 1977, as if the cosmos were reminding us of this lost wisdom. In the natal chart, Chiron points to the area where each human soul carries its existential wound, a blind spot, a fragility, a crack, but also the exact place where mastery can manifest if traversed with awareness. In Hermetic terms, one might say, Chiron represents solve et coagula, dissolve and reform. He teaches us that true healing is not the elimination of pain, but its transmutation into living wisdom. Yes, Chiron's book is not a physical codex, but a body of hidden knowledge that reveals itself only to those who have descended into their own emotional underworld and had the courage to look at their wound, not as a curse, but as an initiation. This is the heart of the mystery. The wound is not something to be overcome. It is something to be consciously embodied until it becomes medicine. On the spiritual journey, there is a constant that we all face beyond cultures, lineages, or doctrines. The wound, not just any wound, but the one that seems not to heal, the one that burns in silence, the one that shapes your decisions without you knowing it. And it is precisely there that Chiron becomes a guide, because he does not come to offer comfort. He comes to reveal the hidden purpose of pain. Imagine your life as a temple of 7 chambers. In each resides a part of you, the mind, the body, the emotion, the will, memory, the shadow, and deepest of all, the original wound. That wound did not arise from a single event, but from a primordial rupture with something essential in you: belonging, love, safety, courage, voice. That crack has been named in many ways: trauma, lack, soul wound. But Chiron's book, in its symbolic language, does not name it as a flaw, but as an initiatory gate, because what wounded you irreparably also opened a channel to internal dimensions you would otherwise never have explored. In Chiron's language, that wound is the place where masks dissolve. It is the space where the ego's armor breaks, and in doing so, reveals what lies beneath: the naked, trembling, powerful essence that can no longer keep running. The curious thing is that the desperate attempt to avoid this wound is what disconnects us most from our power. Those who deny their pain project their unrecognized chaos onto the world. Those who repress it harden, but those who embrace it, face it, and listen to it begin to transform it into gift. In the esoteric frame, this process is called the alchemy of the soul. What once hurt becomes a compass. The wound is no longer a pit, but a mirror. It is no longer an enemy, but a threshold of revelation. The first step in this alchemy, according to Chiron symbolism, is radical acceptance of the wound, not as resignation, but as sacred recognition, saying to it, "I see you. I will not flee you. I hear you." The second step is to disidentify from the victim role and begin to ask, what is this wound asking of me? What is it awakening? What does it invite me to? Here, the initiatory turn occurs when you stop seeking to be healed in order to be normal and begin to heal in order to remember who you truly are. In many cases, Chiron's wound pushes you toward your mission. The one who suffered abandonment discovers the power to hold others. The one who lived betrayal develops a fierce commitment to truth. The one who lost their voice becomes a messenger of consciousness, not because they have been fully cured, but because they have made their pain a bridge of service. This process is not linear. It does not happen in a retreat or over a weekend of emotional healing. It is a journey of years, perhaps a lifetime, but a journey that at every step returns you to yourself, to your deepest, truest, most essential being. Thus, the wound ceases to be an obstacle and becomes the score from which the soul's hymn is sung. Chiron does not teach us only to look at the wound. He compels us to contemplate its paradoxes. The first is disconcerting. The more you try to rise above the pain to overcome it, the more you are chained. The more you descend humbly into its core, the more liberated you become. The second is subtler still. The same force that saved you, your armor, your cleverness, your hyper-vigilance, can become the cage that now prevents you from living. Consider living examples. Someone wounded by abandonment often becomes fiercely self-sufficient. That autonomy saved them, but if it hardens, it isolates them. Chiron's alchemy does not seek to destroy independence, but to temper it into chosen relationships held with consciousness. One who suffered betrayal learns to read the world with a magnifying glass. Their discernment is a gift until it degenerates into permanent suspicion. The medicine, then, is gradual trust as practice, not naivete. One who experienced humiliation can refine themselves toward excellence, turning perfectionism into armor. Transmutation requires deliberately introducing imperfect beauty into one's work so life can breathe through a deliberate crack. And one who carried injustice develops a precious ethical compass, but risks petrifying into hardness. The cure is compassion without complacency, firmness that does not confuse justice with vengeance. Another nuance Chiron's book whispers is the danger of wound identity. The mind can fall in love with the story of pain and turn it into a credential of belonging. I, the wounded one, I, the survivor. Chiron warns, the wound is a portal, not a throne. If you make it a banner, you stop the journey just at the door. The master question is, who am I when I stop organizing my life around what broke me? There, authorship begins. There is also a mirrored trap. The inverse bypass is not the luminous evasion that skips shadow with pretty phrases, but the stagnation in the shadow with profound-sounding arguments. We intellectualize the trauma, analyze it, name it, and turn it into study rather than write. Chiron asks for the body, breath, trembling, tears, voice. The wound is not negotiated conceptually. It is transformed in enacted embodiment. The ancients recounted that Chiron, tired of his eternal pain, gave up his immortality and was placed among the stars. The myth reveals another paradox. Healing comes when you renounce invulnerable perfection and accept finitude as teacher. The price of wisdom is not immunity, it is conscious permeability, learning to be pierced without falling apart. There are less visible aspects that emerge when working chironically. One is lineage. Some wounds did not begin with you. They pass down through generations like unfinished stories. Here the task is not only to heal my pain, but to give good destiny to a memory that asks for a voice. Another is territory. Places, homes, workplaces can amplify or soothe the wound. It is not superstition. Your nervous system recognizes patterns and responds. And one more, dreams. In nights of deep work, the self delivers you chironic symbols, arrows, teachers, maps, luminous scars you should not rush to explain. First, honor. How do you land all of this into practice? Chiron proposes small liturgies of integration, not spectacles but precise gestures. The triad, feel, name, ritualize. Feel the authentic wave in the body. Name it without embellishment. Ritualize it in an act. A letter burned, an object returned to the earth, a song that closes the cycle. The laboratory, body, voice, territory, body, movement that trembles and frees, voice. Words said in the first person, without an external narrator, territory. Consciously choose the arenas where your wound can blossom as a gift and withdraw from those that repeat it as harm. The three medicines, time, truth, beauty. Time, do not rush the healing. Truth, do not dramatize or minimize. Beauty, introduce art where there was horror, not to hide it, but to redeem it. Chiron also warns against a misuse of the gift, using the wound to dominate. The one who has healed a section and now pontificates. The one who manipulates with their pain, the one who charges emotional tolls. The sign of maturity is simple. Your medicine does not invade.